the 5 balls to watch, and I'm going to add a couple when we're done. So let's go ahead and get it started. Number 5 is against UTEP, who Tennessee's going to pound by like 40 points.
Well, let's start with this. It's technically senior day, but now with the new college football playoff and home playoff games, some teams have to debate if they want to do senior day because there could be a senior day in the playoff. Okay. So anyways,
they're going to treat this like senior day. You don't want to do the senior day rigmarole in a playoff.
No, I agree. All right. So number 5 on this list is, for those who don't know, well, I'll just start with the obvious one. It's Nico Iamaleava. And I'm dropping him to number 5 because there's just some confidence boosting he needs to do. And also, Tennessee's playing UTEP, who's led by Scotty Walden. UTEP is 2-8, but Scotty Walden was at Austin Peay last year, and they introduced the 3-3-5 that everybody's running against Tennessee now that's giving them trouble. It started with Austin Peay, which is when Joe Milton started to struggle. I think we need to see how Nico Iamaleava can handle it this time around. Tennessee's going to win, but can Iamaleava put up like ungodly numbers? We don't know.
Well, yes, he can. Against UTEP, what's the spread on this thing? It's not even close.
Well, yeah, but UTEP spread. Tennessee's a 41.5 point favorite.
Yeah, they're going to beat them by 40 points. So
they only beat Austin Peay 30-13 last year with Scotty Walden running the program.
That's true. And then Josh Heupel was asked about that, and I think that there's something to that. That's fair, but I think Tennessee's going to be mad, and I think they're going to come out and play really well. I don't think they're going to have a down game in UTEP after they're trying to bounce back from the Georgia loss. And let's be honest, too. You talk about recency bias and all that, and recency bias would help the Vols if they could blow their last 2 teams out. And I know Vanderbilt's better than usual, but Tennessee should be able to blow these last 2 teams out, right?
They should. Vanderbilt's kind of stumbling down the stretch because, again, depth is a problem for them. And where the college football is different this year than the previous years is a healthy upstart Vanderbilt could beat a banged-up Alabama in October. But once November and late November hits, everybody's banged up. So then the better teams really start to show.
Okay. Last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. We'll get to number 4, 5 balls to watch. The 4th against UTEP.
To visit cctis.com. The information you need is easy to access, and setting an appointment is as simple as clicking the tab. Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, and Eye Care Optical at cctis.com. Simply the best.
Who's number 4, Caleb?
All right, so number 4 on the list is Peyton Lewis. And here's an interesting one for you guys.
See, this is a good one. I think you picked a good one because he's got an opportunity to get a lot of quality snaps against a team that's not as physically gifted as him. I think he's more interesting to watch than Nico. I think Nico will be fine.
Yes, Peyton Lewis is crucial. And Tennessee last year when they faced Scotty Walden and Austin Peay because of that 3-3-5, they had 200-yard rushers. I think they could get that again in this game, meaning Peyton Lewis could be one of them. You can get him quality snaps, develop him, but also Peyton Lewis is the primary kickoff returner for Tennessee, and UTEP has given up a kickoff return for a touchdown this year. Somebody's bound to run one back for Tennessee at some point. So watch out for Peyton Lewis on that way too. So Peyton could be very effective.
Okay. Who is number 3 on the 5 balls to watch against UTEP?
Arian Carter. UTEP gives up a lot of tackles for loss, and Tennessee maxed that last year when Tennessee played Austin Peay. Aaron Beasley had 5 tackles for loss. Scotty Walden's system allows for outside linebackers to make big play after big play. Arian Carter, against UTEP, you can't atone for how badly you played against Georgia, but he can at least show guys that there's still promise there.
I'm going to tell you, if Jeremiah T-Lander's not on this list, I'm going to be disappointed in you. Who's next? Number 3.
Well, he's not because Arian Carter is, but okay. Number 3. No, we're at number 2 now. Number 2 is Brew McCoy. This is a senior day thing. One receiver. Typically, UTEP, one receiver goes off against them. And when in their only Power 5 opponent, their only other one, Nebraska, it was their big physical 6'4" guy that had over 120 yards. I think Brew McCoy, you want to send him off right. It's kind of been a tough year for him, given how everything's happened. So try to get him a touchdown.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. But again, I think we know what he is. I go into a game like this, and I want to see guys take the next step, like Peyton Lewis, like Jeremiah T-Lander. So I'm I'm in a
That's
different.
what bowl games are for. This is senior day, Dave. You let your seniors make a lasting impression.
Okay, but it's UTEP. We see this different. We're in a different headspace, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're not as sentimental as me. I think you give your seniors a chance. Like last year, Tennessee Vanderbilt, you let Joe Milton go play that game because you let him make a lasting impact. Okay. So, and he did, to his credit. I think he had 6 touchdowns against Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. Number 1 is I told you Tennessee's going to run one back. I told you got to play a little bit more at home because of UTEP's horizontal offense. And a rising star on this team, Boo Carter. I think Boo Carter has a chance to really explode again. He's slowly but surely getting better each week. He had a drop off last week against Georgia. I think part of that was scheming and game planning, where Mike Bobo doing a different game plan. But Boo Carter is my number 1 guy that you want to watch make a huge impact in this game.
There we go. There's your 5 balls to watch, brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com. My 2 balls to watch are guys I want to take steps. Jeremiah Thielander didn't play great against Georgia. He's got to take a step. I mean, they've got a hole in the middle of that defense now with Keenan Pili out. The other one is Peyton Lewis, and not for the kickoff return aspect that you mentioned. Just I want to see him run the football more. I think he has a chance to be a really special back. And I don't exactly understand why he didn't play earlier in the season because he was medically cleared in July. But let's face it. I mean, there are a lot of substitution and personnel moves that have a scratch in our head under Josh Heupel. We could say the same about Dante Thornton starting off at slot, then moving to outside receiver. We could say the same thing about Joe Milton starting over Hendon Hooker. I mean, there's more than a handful of personnel issues that we've had to go through and look at. And it just doesn't feel like the right move. It's one thing if Tennessee's roster isn't good enough, and that's been the situation at times, but it's good enough now. And I still think there's been some questionable roster moves.